Welcome to a new day, a new opportunity, a new podcast. Who knows? Today could bring an unexpected chance, a meaningful conversation, or a small step towards something great. Today might be the day something changes for the better. Thank you for joining me. Husna is here, and welcome to Her Voice podcast. Perhaps loneliness has very little to do with how many people are around us. Someone can be surrounded by friends, colleagues, or even family and still feel completely alone. At the same time, another person can spend an entire afternoon in silence and feel perfectly at peace. Maybe loneliness isn't measured by the absence of people. Maybe it's measured by the absence of connection, especially the connection we have with ourselves. When people struggle to accept who they are, it often becomes difficult to truly connect with others. And because of that, loneliness can quietly exist in the middle of a crowd. But solitude is something different. There is a quiet kind of beauty in being alone. It's the moment when the world becomes a little quieter, distractions slowly fade away, and thoughts that have been buried under every noise finally begin to surface. Psychologists have found that healthy solitude can improve creativity, emotional regulation, and self awareness. Perhaps that's because for the first time in a long time, there is room to actually listen to ourselves. Many people eventually discover that being alone and feeling lonely are not the same thing. One leaves a feeling of emptiness, the other creates space for growth. For some people, solitude becomes the place where life's biggest questions finally have the chance to be asked. Who am I? What kind of life do I really want? What truly matters to me? Those questions rarely appear in the middle of the constant noise, they usually arrive in silence. Maybe that's why everyone needs moments of solitude, not to escape life, but to understand it. Unfortunately, modern society often sends the opposite message. Being alone is sometimes seen as a sign that something is wrong, that someone must be unhappy, unsuccessful, or somehow incomplete. But perhaps we've misunderstood solitude all along. Maybe it's one of the healthiest things a person can experience. Now, there is another reason loneliness feels more complicated today than it did years ago: social media. Ironically, we have never been more connected, yet so many people have never felt more disconnected. Instead of spending quiet moments understanding themselves, people often spend those moments watching carefully edited versions of other people's lives. Research has repeatedly linked excessive social media use with higher levels of loneliness and lower life satisfaction, particularly among young adults. A few decades ago, life looked different. People spent more time sitting together, talking without checking a screen every few seconds, visiting friends without needing a reason, and simply being present. Life wasn't necessarily easier, but perhaps it was quieter. And sometimes quiet is exactly what people need. For many people, there comes a season in life when everything suddenly slows down. It might happen during university, after a major life change, or during a period when there's finally enough space to think. Those seasons often become turning points. Because once the noise disappears, people begin asking themselves questions that truly shape the future. Of course, solitude isn't meant to last forever. Human beings are social by nature. We need meaningful conversations. We need laughter. We need people who truly know us. Healthy solitude doesn't replace relationships. It prepares us for better ones. So perhaps the goal isn't to avoid being alone. Perhaps the goal is to become so comfortable with ourselves that being alone no longer feels frightening. And if someone chooses to spend time alone, maybe they don't need to be rescued. Maybe they simply need the freedom to think, to heal, to grow, and to discover who they are becoming. If they ever need help, they should know that someone is there for them. But some journeys have to be walked alone, because nothing lasts forever. Every difficult season eventually passes. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Life unfolds in its own rhythm. Sometimes all that's left to do is trust the process, keep working on ourselves, and believe that better days are quietly making their ways toward us. Maybe that's the real lesson. Loneliness can be painful, but solitude can be beautiful. Because sometimes the most meaningful conversation anyone will ever have is the silent one they have with themselves. That will be it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving forward.